inspired more rioting. They're tracking an extensive number of discussions between extremist groups online. Well, joining us right now in Washington with the very latest is MSNBC correspondent Ellison Barber. Ellison, we're going to get to the state capitals, but I can't help but watch those visuals behind you. What appears to be a tent city. Are those armored vehicles right there behind you?
Yeah, they are. They're on both sides. There are checkpoints like this all across D.C., all across Capitol Hill and downtown D.C. You can see the Capitol over my shoulder, and it kind of gives you a sense of actually how far away we are. Remember, what was it, a week ago? On Wednesday, January 6th, we were at the steps of the Capitol. Now, you cannot get nearly as close to the Capitol as was possible before. There are, again, checkpoints manned by military officers, National Guard, soldiers, as well as law enforcement. There are barricades, some of them as tall as 7 feet. Up near the front on the eastern side of the Capitol, there's a 7-foot fence that actually has razor wire around the top. This is an incredibly aggressive posture in D.C., and it is because of what happened here on January 6th and because of those ongoing threats FBI Director Christopher Wray has talked about. He says that those threats are not just in D.C., but nationwide, and he has described it as being an extensive amount of chatter online. He says FBI agents are constantly working, trying to figure out what is just online bluster and what threats are real. Here in D.C., though, there is so much security, so much effort, focus on making sure that anyone who might want to try to get to the United States Capitol or do the people inside of it harm don't have access to it. People in D.C. are so used to high security events, but when you talk to people who live here, whether they've been here 5 years or 50 years, they say they have never seen anything quite like this. Listen here.
It's not every day your running buddies carry assault rifles and things like that. It's very strange. I think that one thing people miss a lot of times is that we work here, we live here. You know, this is my local community, and it's amazing when your local community is always the center of national news, but you don't want to see it on national news like this.
And as for those nationwide threats, the FBI sent an internal memo warning law enforcement agencies to be prepared for some sort of activity. We are told that law enforcement officials are keenly focused on states where President Trump contested the election results or states that have a previous history of some sort of militia-like activity or far-right extremist groups. Think Wisconsin, Michigan, places like that, Minnesota as well. We're also told they're also keeping an eye on places like Georgia and Arizona. Candace?
I do think, Ellison, that should be the worry for so many people. It's very rare for an arsonist to return to the same scene of the crime and light another fire. And while we have that armored compound there in D.C., I worry about those different states. Ellison Barber for us in D.C. Thank you.